Howdy, this is Rob, the Jonah Project, out on the undisclosed back 5. Just had a little idea today. Had to do with happiness. Happiness and depression. Can you be happy and depressed? Can you be unhappy and depressed? Can you just be happy and happy? Which one would you rather be? I think the happy sounds pretty good. But unfortunately, that's a little too simple for reality and life, because we have redefined what happiness is. We've given it a Western idea. Happiness. Happiness is things. Happiness is big houses. Happiness is big cars. Happiness is trunk bars. Happiness is whatever we call it. Better cell phones, better TVs, better crap. Well, if you actually deal with life-threatening illnesses like manic depression or just severe clinical depression, then you may not have experienced happiness in a long time. I think part of it is because we've been told what happiness is, instead of actually being able to reach down inside and find out what it is for ourselves. Now, since I measured me by the merits of the rest of the world, my happiness was based on the education, getting a job, doing something worthwhile, having family. That's what I was brought up with. That was the idea I saw on TV. Now, the actual family thing that I had was a lot more complicated than that. But I did understand a little bit of happiness. And happiness, for a lot of folks, is just having something to eat. Happiness can be having some air conditioning. Happiness can be having warmth in the winter. I know a little bit about all those things. And I used to not understand that that's what happiness was. Happiness is real. It's tangible. It's not something in a bottle. And it's not something that somebody else does. It's something we have to find inside of us. I think I mentioned before I had to reimagine who I was more than once because of illness. It's been a necessity to do that. And I found happiness because I don't look for happiness in people. I don't necessarily look for happiness in me. I look for happiness in something that's a bad world in these days, and that's my Creator and my Savior. Because I know that what I'm dealing with here and what others are dealing with will eventually go away, and we won't have to deal with it anymore. But since we're here on planet Earth and we're dealing with what we got, talk about a little more happiness. I was thinking about this earlier because I wrote a poem about happiness, and it's pretty funny. I did it back about 2000, and so that was back when I was a bit younger and just saw things a little bit different. But I was thinking about happiness. You have happiness, then you have joy. These are levels of moving up in the happiness realm, or whatever that means. And happiness, let me say this real quick, is a lot like fun. What's really fun? People call a lot of stuff fun that just sounds expensive and silly to me, and maybe detrimental to your health and the rest of the world. So where is fun? Where are these words at? Well, I think they're right up here, in that matrix we call our bunch of noodles. Anyway, you can go from happiness, then you've got joy. Joy is that sort of next level up. Now, I find joy in my faith. I find joy in the Scripture. I find joy just in the Word. The Word and the Word made flesh. Then we go up to the next level, and that's rapture, ecstasy. Now, I'm not talking about flying away. That's not what I mean at all. The old word actually used to mean ecstasy. It's outside of you. And if you sort of think along the if you think along the Eastern model, then you'd understand that these are tangible things. Our Western concepts of words and noun usage has brought us a lot of, it looks like something, it smells like something, it sounds like something. Well, that's Western. But the truth about these emotions is that they're very, very inside of us. very important. And that ecstasy one is one that we don't always reach that often. If you did it all the time, if you're enraptured all the time, just think about it. You never could touch earth. You never could touch reality. So anyway, since I had to reimagine what happiness was, it wasn't being in the laboratory and doing research and doing what I really enjoyed, or teaching. I enjoyed that too. I love dealing with the folks and standing up and bringing something that would help someone have a better life, a better understanding, and maybe make some money. Anyway, let me do the poem real quick, if I can just keep it in my mind and get it out to you. Anyway, it's called Mr. Businessman, and it starts out like this. So you say you're happy. So you say you're happy. So you say you're happy with a stressed out body, a heart attack at 40, a looking for the cheese, a new way to grease so the wheels turn faster, thinking you're the master. So now where went the time looking for the happiness that you'll never find? Was it in that new car over at the drunk bar? Was it at the island where you traveled so far? I'm here to tell you, man, you say you had a plan, but as I see it simply, you don't understand. So give me the room to stand up and shout. I may not have all the answers, but at least I know what it's about. A little starving Marvin, do you know his name? He just wants to live a life that ain't buried in shame. Don't want to be famous or go very fast. He just hope he is around to kiss your rich ass. Now there are some of us that will smile as we can, smile like a Sambo while we're shaking your hand. It's all because of you that I am here. So only blame yourself and all that you fear. It is that mighty God that you worship in vain. So kill me, high-class brother, and you will feel less pain. Now there's only one thing, and I say it with a smile. No matter how you get there, a mile is just a mile. You may be on a donkey, or just a little ass. In a Lamborghini, you can get there very fast. But where would be the journey and the roses that you passed? I'd rather get there slowly on my smelly little ass. That's what I found out about life. When you live the fast stuff, I got to see a little bit of the fast thing, and I knew some people that lived the fast life. And all I see was a bunch of very unhappy, confused, frustrated, destructive individuals. Some of them ended up in really bad places. And it's because they thought that happiness was made by things. It was made by what you achieved. And I'm not knocking that. I'm not going to knock achievement. Oh, my heavens. We are low on achievement on this planet. As a person that was a teacher, I'm here to tell you, we have lost something. And it started sort of back in the 90s, maybe even the 80s or the 70s. But I remember when I had a professor tell me, I'm retiring, and he was only in his 50s. And when I asked him why, he said, because I do not have students that I can train. Now, he was a physics and a calculus teacher. He was not only my teacher, but my mentor. He was a guy I called Dad. Since I didn't have one, he was my dad. And I loved him dearly. But he gave it up. I would say he was somewhat at the height of his doing. But the system had changed. People had changed. And he and I used to talk about, when he was a young boy, going to school, you know, he'd take his 22 with him and go rabbit hunting or something and just enjoy the things. In Louisiana, that's where he was from. And you had the great outdoors, and you just had nature. He had parents. He had people that loved him. He had brothers and sisters. We used to call that normal life. That was life before whatever happened in this 20th and 21st century. And because of it, the balance that we're dealing with as humans, we're having all kind of medical and we're having psychological problems. We're dealing with depression. We're dealing with not knowing what we're going to do tomorrow, today, if we're going to have a life. And fear is where so much of this begins. Fear. If you're kept afraid, it means you're unbalanced. It means your body is working overtime to produce hormones to have you ready for fight or flight. There aren't that many ways that you can sort of calm yourself down, but one of them is doing what I'm doing here. I get out in the woods. I get out and work and do things. I'm messed up. I'm disabled. I've got joint troubles. I can barely walk, and my arms come out of place. It's no fun, but I still get out and live a life. I'm not going to let the bastards beat me. Okay? That's part of it. If you don't have the will to fight, then I'm not even sure if you have the right to keep complaining about it. We're losing the will. Humans are extraordinary creatures. We're the pinnacle. We're the apex creatures of this planet, as far as we know. We don't know about invisibility cloaks, so we don't know what's walking around and goes bump in the night. But as far as we know, actually, we're it, and we're being treated worse than cattle. We're not being given any time to mature. We're not being given a foundation, and I guess eventually I can talk about some of the other things about manipulation and about psychology. But we sort of have to get a grasp. If you're having trouble, please go talk to someone. If you don't have family, if you don't have a preacher, if you don't have a priest, if you don't have a rabbi, please reach out and talk to your Creator. He's always listening. So that will always work for you. Sometimes people have to be worse than on their knees in the grips of death before they ever call out to something on the outside. It's just strange to me. I spent an awful lot of time in the field of science, and I saw these fantastic mathematicians and these wonderful physicists that would take everything up to the level and poo-poo anything that we honestly can't see with our naked eyes. Now, you have to understand, when we talk about fields and constructs and energy and the electromagnetic spectrum, we see light, we see things, but what is perception? What's perception anyway? So you have a whole group of people that are doing good work. They're doing what they do, but they completely cut off something. Yet they will talk about dark matter, and most of what we deal with is mathematics. We can't see it. We calculate it, and even a lot of the calculations we deal with, they don't have a whole lot of meaning in reality that we deal with every day. So you have a group of people that will talk about things that can't be seen and yet deny things that can't be seen. Einstein even had a word for that, and that is people that do the same thing over and over and look for different results, and that is insanity. So I think we're in a culture of insanity to an extent, and human beings in general are going by the wayside. And I just want you to know, if somebody like me can survive and make it and have some kind of happiness, I've had to change the happiness thing, then you can. My goodness gracious, I have not been a paragon of strength. The only strength I've had is what my Creator's just held me up by the nape of the neck. So you can make it. Anyway, this happiness thing, how can we find that? How can we even explain it? Well, when you do something for somebody else, does it make you feel better? When you go out and scratch the ground up and get some plants up, does that make you feel better? Makes me feel better. So those are something that we can actually do. Now, this time of year, we're losing our light. Light's important. If you're dealing with depression, light is important. Sleep is important. Depression will mess with your sleep. So if you're having these troubles, please talk to someone. Please get some information on it. Because we're in that time of the year, and with all the politics and such going on, it is depressing in general. But since I don't take all that stuff very seriously, except, they make crocus, but I don't take it seriously because I know where my bread's buttered. I know who loves me. So I don't worry about all that stuff. But if you don't feel that way, please find a hobby, find something. Realize that staying busy is helpful. Open up to somebody. If you can't open up to a human being, then open up to your Creator. And if you can't do that, get a piece of paper and write about it. That's what helped me initially, was this writing about it stuff. Anyway, I guess I better get going. This is getting long. This is Rob with the Jonah Project, and I'll see y'all later.